It happened just as we thought it would. Captain America, our pride and joy. The hero that we all knew to turn to trust. He betrayed us. A series of events have happened. One that has brought the end of the Marvel Universe, and it all started with the Cosmic Cube. To be more specific, the reconstituted fragments of the Cosmic Cube. The Cosmic Cube pieces that became a little girl named Kobik. A little girl with the powers of a god. Steve Rogers had lost the super soldier serum, and he had passed the mantle of captain to his friend Sam Wilson. But then Maria Hill went ahead with a new plan, one that would create a prison known as Pleasant Hill. In this prison, she used the Cosmic Cube to alter history and the lives of villains, to make them plain old backwater town civilians. No powers, no anger, no threats. But of course, that didn't work. It never works. The villains began to remember who they were, and it took the Avengers to save the day. In the middle of that, Steve Rogers was altered, changed. You see, Kobik revived Steve, making him young again, restoring his strength, speed, and agility. She brought back the Captain America that we all know and love. Or did she? As it turns out, due to the Red Skull's passion to find the Cosmic Cube, due to his desire to conquer the world, she saw him as a father figure. And what would be the best way to make your father happy if he was the Red Skull? Kobik altered the entire history and timeline of Steve Rogers. Everything about his past was completely changed, so that even he believed that it was all true. In this new timeline, Steve Rogers is secretly a Hydra agent, and he has been this entire time. When he was young, his mother was rescued by Hydra, and then he was raised as an agent of Hydra. He was then led to believe that at the end of World War II, the Allied forces used the Cosmic Cube to alter his timeline, making him believe that what had happened after all of these years was a lie. Not his Hydra background, but all of his working with the heroes. So he joined up with Red Skull, and secretly behind the scenes he went ahead and helped propel Hydra's goals, believing that his true origins were now revealed. Except Red Skull didn't live for Hydra. Red Skull lived for Red Skull. Steve felt that Red Skull had twisted the original vision of Hydra, and he made it into a more Nazi-centric organization and altered the true goal of Hydra. So Steve went ahead and killed Red Skull. He took control of the Hydra organization. He pushed the true ideology of Hydra forward. One of world peace through domination and control. One where he would create an ideal world with no conflict and obedient civilians. It wasn't difficult for Steve to take over the world. He is Captain America after all. These things have been in the works for some time now. Backdoor deals and plans to ensure that there would be almost zero conflict when he took over. I mean, no one ever thought that he would betray them. It started with the Chitauri. He sent out a call to them secretly, forcing them to attack the planet Earth. With such a large force attacking, Captain Marvel took everyone who could fight into space, and they took out the first line. They were there to defend the planet from this alien invasion. The big thing is, there's a new intergalactic shield that would surround the entire planet, one that would block all oncoming attacks. Except it's not working right now. Steve informs her that he has two of his best people working on it right now to try and get it up and running. That's when we see Riri Williams and the Tony Stark AI working on it. For those wondering, Tony Stark has been unconscious since the events of Civil War II, but he downloaded his entire memory, personality, and appearance into an AI which currently inhabits one of his Iron Man suits. Riri Williams is a young girl who was able to build an Iron Man suit and an individual that Tony was intending to mentor before Captain Marvel punched him into oblivion. Sharon Carter looks at Steve, telling him about the other problem. An army of supervillains has started to attack New York, and they just mobilize the response teams. On the ground, we see Luke Cage leading the Defenders into battle. He shouts out the battle cry. All right, Defenders, let's show these suckers what happens when you mess with our city, which they do all the time. But they should stop doing it. Sharon informs Steve that there's also a third problem. The Hydra forces have just invaded Sokovia, and the government formally surrendered, giving up the launch codes to all 7 of the Soviet-era nukes that they had. Hydra is threatening to use them against the European countries if they don't get recognized as a new regime. And one of the SHIELD helicarriers just fell off of the radar, and they have no idea where it's located. Steve Rogers has always been a master strategist, but freed from compassion and mercy, this was his masterpiece. The forces of Earth were divided, spread thin. They had won so many times before this that they didn't know failure. So when they did, they fell hard. And this is how he betrayed them. The heroes began to fall in their scattered battles, beginning with Quasar in space, an insanely powerful superhero losing to the Chitauri ship. When the protector of the universe fell, so did the forces in space's hope. In New York, Nitro ran forward, a villain with the power to blow himself up, and it was Jessica Jones who grabbed him and launched him into the sky. The explosion was so massive that it took out many of the buildings with it, and that's when the reports of Hydra attacking all over the US began to roll in. It happened. Steve Rogers was placed into complete control of the US government due to a state of emergency being called. S.H.I.E.L.D. now had control of the US military and law enforcement agencies, and Steve was in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's when he acted. The shield around the planet turned on to protect the Earth from the Chitauri attack, and the fact that it went live baffled Tony and Riri, but at least it went up. Everyone cheered, not fully grasping what just happened. While everyone cheered, the villains in New York began to teleport out of New York, fleeing as fast as they can. And the reports came in. The heroes once again celebrated. That's when the reports that they had found the helicarrier came across, but it was on full ramming speed for the one where the heads of S.H.I.E.L.D. were currently stationed. The two helicarriers slammed into each other, and Sharon heard the voice of Dr. Faustus coming over the intercom, a well-known manipulator with the power to brainwash individuals. He even brainwashed Sharon Carter to kill Steve Rogers years ago. She knows what's going on. They're brainwashing S.H.I.E.L.D. deck by deck. Hydra agents boarded the helicarrier and they moved forward, and as they entered the command center, Sharon opened fire on them. And Steve told them, "Hold your fire. I am the man who runs the wheel." All of the Hydra agents lowered their weapons and they raised their fists. Hail Hydra! Sharon was in disbelief as the Hydra soldiers dragged her away, calling Steve supreme leader. He then took over the shield with Tony and Riri unable to open up the shield's door or anything, and he called up Captain Marvel. She called back telling him that they have injured, they need to get to Earth, and he informed her, "We won't be opening the doors to Earth. There will be another wave of Chitauri, and another. They will be constantly attacking the walls of Earth until they find their queen." Captain Marvel begins to grasp what he's saying. "Oh my God, Steve, what did you do? What happened to you?" "I'm doing exactly what you would do. You should be proud of your work. You built a shield that will protect Earth from the greatest threats, and now that you're on the other side of it, this will be the last time that we speak." Every superhero capable of space combat and flight is now locked off-world. Tony begins to realize that something is very wrong, and he rockets with Riri to go over to New York. He realizes that whatever is about to happen is bad, and on the outskirts of New York, Baron Zemo holds up the Darkhold book, and in an instant, a spell is cast, locking New York City itself into the Dark World. Away from the real world and now in the dark dimension, along with every superhero that was in that battle. And with that, Hydra moved forward, taking over Washington, D.C. Steve Rogers, Hydra Supreme Leader, just conquered the United States. Some time passed and it was official. Hydra controlled it all, and they began to rewrite history. The victor always gets to rewrite history. Outside of a school in Greensboro, Brian McAllister and Jason McAllister sit while Jason explains his lunchbox was stolen, and Brian says that he'll see if he can get him another one. Jason walks into school and the children begin the day with the ceremonial Hail Hydra. The teacher then began to tell them the new history of the world. Baron von Strucker was killed for treason, and Armin Zola made the super soldier program and put Steve Rogers into it, seemingly to work for America, but in fact working behind the scenes as Hydra. This is known as the Great Illusion. And at the end of the war, with defeat in their hands, the Allied forces rewrote history, and it was Captain America who restored us to our Hydra roots. The children began to recite the guidelines of Hydra: trust authority, punish weakness, report threats. And using that as a cue, one of the kids tells the teacher that Jason's older brother Brian, well, he's an Inhuman, a dirty, filthy Inhuman. And under the new order, all Inhumans are supposed to report in and be held. Back at home, Brian arrives running in holding his stomach, and as he enters, he begins to vomit up a Captain America lunchbox. His power is to barf up anything that is needed for any situation. But before he can clean up the mess, Hydra comes knocking at the door to arrest the unauthorized Inhuman. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, a kid is running from the Hydra police as they are surprised when Amadeus Cho the Hulk attacks them. Bruce Banner was about to explode recently, so in order to save his life, Amadeus Cho took the power of the Hulk into himself. But unlike Banner, Cho can control his transformations, and he even retains a bit of his intelligence when hulked out. The kid then looks up at the Hulk, and that's when Spider-Man and Falcon land. This Spider-Man is Miles Morales, the Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe, and when that universe collapsed, he was brought into the main Marvel Universe, and this Falcon is an individual who had his DNA crossed with Red Wing, Sam Wilson's Falcon. He then took the name of Falcon, becoming Sam Wilson, Captain America's sidekick. They all land asking the kid for the information that he was delivering. You see, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Falcon are a part of the Resistance, and this kid just gave them a report that he had information that will save the entire world. After confirming that he is legit, they all climb into the Fantastic Car, flying off with the new Wasp driving it. The new Wasp is the illegitimate child of Hank Pym, and after Janet Van Dyne approved it, took the name of Wasp to honor her father, even though her father is a villain right now and merged with Ultron, but we'll get to that one later. While this is going on, a monster is attacking New York, and Steve Rogers steps forward asking the monster to politely leave, or he'll have it killed. The monster, of course, laughs, so Steve says it. Avengers assemble! And that's when we see the forces that are working for Steve Rogers as his new Avengers. Odin's son, the former Thor, as the hammer now lies in the hands of Jane Foster Thor, a reprogrammed Vision being forced to work for Steve. Doc Ock now in a new body as the new Spider-Man since Peter Parker is in hiding. Eric O'Grady Ant-Man as the Black Ant, and a possessed Scarlet Witch, Deadpool, and Taskmaster. Steve heads over to his council meeting where they inform him everything is going according to plan. They've altered the fluoride in the water to make the populace more docile, and they see no problems with the mutants to the northern border at the Sovereign Republic of New Tian. They then explain that they made a new facility to hold all of the Inhumans that they have captured. But there's a small problem. A viral video of the Resistance in Las Vegas. The council states that there should be an example made. The Resistance flourishes in Las Vegas because the civilians believe in it and they allow for it. But Steve has reservations. He doesn't want to create a prison state. Yet the council tells him that he needs to act. They haven't even executed the prisoners on death row yet. When will Steve show his power? Show that he is not to be trifled with. Back at the Resistance headquarters, the doors open and Black Widow welcomes back the kids, the champions, as they go by in the superheroes' circle. While they assume that it's a successful mission, Hawkeye fires an arrow demanding to know what they were thinking. They were on a viral video. Hydra knows that they're out there yet again. The arguing continues as both Black Widow and Hawkeye want to know why the champions even left, and Viv, the daughter of Vision, explains that they went to rescue this boy. They met him on the internet, so both Hawkeye and Widow turn their weapons to him. Spy! But he explains that he was handed a flash drive from Rick Jones that can save everything. He has the answer to all of this. Hawkeye tells everyone to take him to the drunk. Back with Steve, he approaches Rick Jones in his cell. Rick Jones is the same kid that Bruce Banner saved all those years ago, but since that day he's been helping the superhero community and recently became an expert hacker. Steve walks in asking him why he did it. We gave you a nice apartment in protective custody and you stole one of the guards' phones and hacked it? Rick smiles. One of your guys has a hella guessable iPhone password. Right, and from there it took you 3 minutes to hack in and steal the most valuable files in Hydra's possession. Now you have to tell me, who did you give those to? Rick, of course, doesn't answer, and instead, he asks Steve, was it weird for you when I used to dress up as Bucky? Steve rubs his forehead. I get it, you won't tell me, but I need people to think that you're sorry. I need them to know you understand what you did is wrong. Just say the words, Rick. Hail Hydra. Rick looks at the ground, and then back to Steve, and he sings instead. So Steve turns to leave. Oh, come on, Cap. Listen, buddy. Whatever they did to you, I know you're gonna beat it, okay? I'm not giving up hope. You always come out on top in the end. And you know how I know that? Because you're my hero, Cap. And Steve walks down the hallway, sad about what has to happen next. Back in the Resistance headquarters, they lead the kid into Tony Stark's lab, calling him the drunk. He calls back, I heard that! Keep in mind, this is the AI Tony, so he can't exactly get drunk. But he reminds them that it's actually a code-based recalibration of his behavioral modifiers. There's no alcohol involved, and he's managing it. The kid is in shock. He's Tony Stark, and he delivers the flash drive explaining that this is it. It's what's going to save the world. Tony looks at it and tells him that he'll get to it on Thursday. Shocked, the kid tells him that there's a chance to save the day with this, and Tony explains that there is always a chance. First, they thought Steve was a clone, or that he was mind-controlled. In both instances, they lost many of their troops. The fact is, this is Steve and he has won. The kid is in shock. You're a superhero! Look around, kid. There's no superheroes here. Just fugitives. Back at Hydra headquarters, Rick Jones is hauled off to a post where he's tied up. With a smile, he shouts, Avengers assemble! And the Hydra soldiers all shoot him. To prove you don't mess with Steve Rogers, the Dreadnoughts are then sent into Las Vegas. The heroes thought that it was already as bad as it can get. That was until Las Vegas was bombed to the point of no return, and the entire city was leveled. Once the bombs stopped falling, the Resistance rolled out to save whoever they could, but it was a massacre in the name of Hydra, in the name of Steve Rogers. What the heroes were really looking for was hope, and without hope, Black Widow knew what was needed. They had to kill Steve Rogers. She looked at everyone. We do not have time to mourn. We do not have time to be angry. We only have time to act. I'm looking for a team of volunteers for a mission that we all know we have to undertake. We're called Avengers, and these people, that city, demand vengeance. The man who killed them must answer for what he's done. No more games. This time we don't shoot to wound. We cut the head off of this beast and we take our chances with what grows in its place. We have no other choice. And Tony walks in. Actually, we do. He shows them the flash drive and on it is Rick Jones. Hey everyone. If you're watching this, then I must have been made dead, and that sucks. But here's the hope that you need. I know what happened to Captain America and how we can fix it. Rick explains the entire situation, the Cosmic Cube, how Steve was altered, how he believes his entire life was meant to be Hydra, how he killed Red Skull and how he took over Hydra. The entire plot of the last 3 years of Marvel is laid out for all of the heroes to soak in. But Steve knew that there would be a problem. He knew that Kobik had to be gone because they can't have a child running around with the powers of a god. So he had Kobik changed into a normal cosmic cube. And then he wanted to use it to alter the entire world into Hydra's image, not conquer it, completely change it. Eric Slavig, the scientist who studied Kobik, became attached to her though, and he didn't want her to die. So he broke the cosmic cube into pieces and he scattered them around the world. I've attached Slavig's journal and all of the data that Hydra has in the locations of the cube fragments, so you can find them ahead of Hydra and change Captain America back. Don't lose hope! And those are the last words he got out before his communication was cut off. Tony tells everyone that he looked over all of this. It's the real deal. This can work. Black Widow turns to him. A city was just wiped off the map, and you want to go play dress up again? Even after this? But Hawkeye steps in. You're wrong, Natasha. If our Steve was here, he'd be the first to tell you. She stops Hawkeye right there. Like hell he would. If Steve were here and he saw himself like this, someone who would kill millions of people, he'd beg us to kill him. And if you don't get that, then you didn't know him at all. With that, she walks out of the room. And so our heroes were divided. Tony took a team and they decided that they would find the fragments using one of Ant-Man's contacts, a smuggler known for getting people to safe countries. Sam Wilson, former Captain America. Black Widow decided that she would take who she could and save Steve by killing him. It was the Champions who decided to join her. They wanted to help her on a mission, but they didn't agree with killing Steve Rogers. They thought that there had to be another way. Black Widow insisted that there isn't, and they need to accept that. Meanwhile, in another time and another place, a spot called the Vanishing Point. Hope existed. Hope was real. Like Rick Jones said, they can never take it from you. You can only lose it. Either way, hope has been gone for far too long for these heroes. A woman was fleeing from various villains in a mystical-looking forest, and just as they were about to beat her into oblivion, a man stood before them. A powerful and a heroic-looking man as he raised his fist to stop the enemy. It didn't take much. He knew how to fight, and then he reached out to the woman to help her to her feet, to save her. And she asked him, "What do you want?" And in front of her stood a man in military fatigues, blonde hair, and a beard, and he informed her, "My name is Steve Rogers, and I'm just trying to get home." Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of Secret Empire. I didn't do a standard intro for this video because I wanted to just jump right in to the epicness of the intro to Secret Empire. Before a lot of you go in the comments down below and you leave the comment, Benny, you said you didn't enjoy the storyline and you weren't going to be covering it, I wanted to explain why we are actually covering Secret Empire. The fact is, it's the big Marvel summer event. All of the events going on in Marvel are going to stem out of Secret Empire, and I thought about doing a quick 2-minute rundown, here's what happened in the video, or perhaps doing a, here's my opinions on the situation. But in the end, I decided that I would, for the second time ever in the history of this channel, do a video on a comic book that I just wasn't a huge fan of. The core storyline, in my opinion, is a really good storyline, but there's so much fluff and additional stuff thrown into the overall plot that I didn't enjoy it. But I decided that people will need to know what happened in Secret Empire if they want to go buy Marvel comic books. And that there are fans of this series out there. And by just having it missing from the channel in our entire history of Marvel, it would just feel lacking. Like, what happened in Marvel in 2017, Benny? And I'd be like, a story I didn't like. And then we would just literally have a year of Marvel missing. So that's why we are doing Secret Empire. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed Secret Empire. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? And did you like our version of the story where we really just cut it down to the bare bones, bare necessity of the story? We tried to leave in the epicness that did happen and get out the stuff that I did not enjoy about the storyline. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel to keep up to date on what's going to be happening in Secret Empire and the post-Secret Empire stuff. And you can follow me on Twitter if you want to discuss Secret Empire and other stuff with me.
Make sure you guys sub to Comics Explained.
No, because he liked Secret Empire, and only idiot YouTubers would like Secret Empire.
Say that again. What?
You're a special boy, Rob.
Your Secret Empire was good. It was good. It was a good story.